kind of soft spoken, so I'm going to try. Hopefully you guys can hear me okay in the back. Okay, cool. So I'm Emily Rohrer. I used to be Emily Helms and I recently got married, so I'm still the same person. Just yeah, I'm still adjusting. Then signing the name is hard. So I am the State Rangeland Management Specialist for South Dakota NRCS. I used to be located out of Huron, South Dakota, but moved out to Rapid City about a year ago, almost 2 years ago now. That was 2 years ago in May. So kind of excited. I grew up in Wall, South Dakota, actually, so I'm not too far from home now. And actually married a Forest Service guy, so we're like NRCS Forest Service. We're gonna rule the world someday. Just kidding. So I'm gonna talk to you about NRCS financial assistance. The cost share word is no longer a thing with NRCS. So if you hear financial assistance, it means the same thing. We just got to be politically correct, I guess. I don't know. So I wanted to talk to you about a couple of different opportunities that NRCS has to help you fund this expensive opportunity. So see if I can get this to work, maybe. Okay, so we have the first thing I want to talk to you about. This I kind of stole this presentation from National. So we have conservation innovation grants. These are either state or national grants that provide funding for the development of new tools and new technology. So we support next generation conservation efforts on working lands. So this is testing out new technology, seeing how it fits into our conservation practice standards, seeing if it is improving the resources for the better, that type of a thing. And then we try to figure out how the new technologies fit into how we can partner with those new technologies through these grants. So we've funded at least two, and this is an older presentation, CIGs nationally that are looking at virtual fencing. So we've been working with Oklahoma State University, and they're looking at a lot of the same things that NDSU, UNL, SDSU are working on. And then they're working on developing some guidelines like technical notes so we can show our people how to work with producers to implement this technology. And then Eagle County Soil and Water Conservation District, which Bryce worked with, I believe, to get some funding for base stations. They got another nationally funded CIG. So these are some opportunities to get some funding, but it also provides you also have to do some research along with it or provide some evaluation of the practice and the technology. So there's some upfront paperwork and end of the project paperwork, but you also get money, so it might be worth it. So I guess we've talked about potential benefits, but this is what NRCS sees through the use of virtual fencing. It's wildlife friendly fencing, which is awesome. We have so many working lands programs through NRCS, and we have working lands for wildlife, which is a program with a couple of different partners. So we're looking at migratory species, we're looking at sage grouse, we're looking across the country. We've got a lot of different species that we're interested in. So having a wildlife friendly fence with no collisions, that's pretty awesome. And then also thinking about reduced fence maintenance, which we're reducing fence maintenance, it seems like, but we're also increasing some of the fence maintenance on your phone. So maybe it's a wash, but that's some of the reducing inputs type of a thing. Also management flexibility. You can temporarily exclude places. Also can see some environmental benefits like aesthetics. Maybe people don't like to see that fence out there, as well as improving water quality, like fencing out certain areas at certain times of the year. Can also improve recreation access, especially on public lands. And then Mitch mentioned this, adding in some of the other technologies like NDVI and RAP for improved grazing efficiency. So some of our concerns is that support services of virtual fence companies. when we cost share or when we provide incentives for practice, it's hard for us to to pencil out some of those subscription services. So that's kind of where we're still working on that. Also, the lifespan of the virtual fence, like the base station versus the collars, how that all comes into play. And then talked about it, virtual fences don't keep everything in. So how does that come into play? As well as monitoring requirements are a little bit higher with a virtual fence because you got to make sure that you're not overgrazing those areas. So you have to be out there to make sure you're not overgrazing, so you're meeting our standards as well. So a lot of people, when they think of virtual fence, they'll be like, oh, we're going to be able to use fence to provide incentives or provide some funding for you guys. But the fence standard for NRCS says that a fence should be a constructed barrier, and this virtual fence isn't constructed, it's kind of just there. So when we do get to the funding, we're actually thinking of more of pairing it with prescribed grazing or 528. So this is managing the harvest of vegetation with grazing or browsing animals to achieve specific ecological, economic, and management objectives. So when we do get our payment scenarios created for this, it's probably going to be under 528 versus a fence payment. So that's something to realize. So the good news is we're looking into it, but for fiscal year 24, we don't have any specific virtual fence cost scenarios developed. Let's see, there are existing payment schedules for prescribed grazing in our cost dockets, and that we do have some more intensive management scenarios, but which we can use, but those scenarios aren't really going to cover the costs of the virtual fence. So we also have additional money for CIGs, so the Conservation Innovation Grants, and also another funding opportunity under the Grazing Lands Conservation Initiative. So the first is just one thing to mention with prescribed grazing is that you still have to meet the requirements of prescribed grazing. So that's for South Dakota, at least. This is different for every state, but maximum 50% utilization by weight, having recovery periods during the growing season, altering your timing from year to year. You need to have a monitoring plan, you need to have a drought plan. So those are things to consider if you do go with NRCS to get some funding. Those are the check boxes you have to meet. So like I said, existing payment scenarios through EQIP or CSP, said before, they don't cover the costs of the hardware and software currently. So, whoops. So this is what our payment scenarios look like for this year for EQIP, so the Environmental Quality Incentives Program. These numbers might change a little bit, but $6 an acre, that's probably really not going to help cost share the virtual fence. But in the future, we're hoping for 2025 to have a payment scenario built. So maybe paying for a base station and the collars and the management. So it'd be multiple different payment scenarios with on the same footprint, which we don't usually do when we do a EQIP contract. So we're trying to get national to sign off on it. And once they do that, then we can go ahead and start cost sharing this this technology. And then through CSP, we also have like all of there's like, I don't know, it's A through U, I think now, for enhancements. So there's a lot of different opportunities that if you already have that technology, you can use it during like for a CSP conservation stewardship program contract. But like I said, there's no like money just to cost share that base station or the collars. So Then conservation innovation grants, we have rounds of funding every year for this. There's money set aside in the Farm Bill for this type of program. So there's there's actually 3 different pots of money for this. There's state funded CIGs. These are a max of $150,000 over 3 years. Usually the notice of funding for that comes out about now, sometime in January. So this is something that's available to individuals, entities, NGOs, like it kind of runs the whole gamut. So this is something to look into if you have maybe a couple different people that want to do it. And then this requires like kind of having a goal in mind, what you're going to test out for us, providing a report back to show like Bryce did, like say this stuff works, this stuff doesn't, you know, all that kind of a thing. There's also a nationally funded CIG round of funding, and these are, it depends on the year, but either $1 to $2 million max for those grants. And those require match. So it's like a 1-to-1, like saying you have some buy-in, the partners have buy-in as well. And then we provide the technical oversight to make sure like everything is going okay. The place all of this stuff is located is on grants.gov. And if you go in there, there's like a little bar, it says search for grants, and you can search like South Dakota NRCS and find what's available. We haven't released our notice of funding yet, or NFOs, but they should be coming out like between now and like March. It kind of just depends, but there's also conservation innovation grants that are on-farm trials, which is a little different, but those also can be either state funded or nationally funded. So, and I do have some fact sheets about the CIG grants, if anybody's interested. Then the last thing is the Grazing Lands Conservation Initiative. This depends on funding. We've had 2 rounds of funding in the past 2 years, so hopeful there's another round, but we'll see. They've funded at least $12 million in grants for grazing lands conservation. And these are going to like grassland coalitions or soil and water conservation districts, that kind of a thing. In order to apply, you have to be a certain entity. So this would be like working with your local conservation district, possibly, or like SDSU, tribal governments can apply, universities can apply, but it's not open to just individual entities. Then, so finally, like we will be including virtual fence with prescribed grazing eventually. It's just that we're still trying to like work out all the kinks so that it will work within policy. And we're pretty excited to be part of this because we want to have those opportunities to address resource concerns on the landscape. That questions? Yeah. Right. Yeah. As long as it hasn't been funded yet. Or yeah, as long as they're meeting the standard. Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Wow.
So it sounds like a lot of the opportunities currently are fall under what would be grants.
Grants, yeah.
Generally speaking, like what makes a grant application for these programs?
I think so. What the grant review committees typically look for is diversity in the application. So having multiple people involved and not just one person, showing that you're going to be addressing a resource concern in some way. So like showing, like maybe you're testing out like how this technology works around water courses or something like that. Just showing that you're you're not just using it to make money kind of thing. You're also addressing resource concerns. You're trying to make the environment better would be, and then, I feel like there's diversity is very important. So historically underserved communities are being impacted by this technology, showing that as well. And working with partners is always like NRCS loves to work with partners. So if you're working with like maybe across the fence or with the conservation district or another like NGO partner, that's always good too. And I think we can help like guide you with writing these, but we can't write them for you. So like if you have questions, we're available to help, but we can't type it out. You guys got to do it, and you got to hit submit. So I would say yes. You just have to make sure you make that case for it and how you're going to improve that watershed. Yeah. I think that's how the Eagle County one got, because it was like a watershed based project. Good question. Good.
Any more questions? Excuse me, any more questions for Emily?
Anybody here like free money?
Yeah. Okay.
I'll take your reading. Thanks. Okay, so I forgot to pull this together on kind of a separate piece of paper for you guys. But SARE is I have 2 research and education grants with SARE. SARE is a USDA program. It stands for Sustainable Agriculture Research and Education. The entire country is broken up into different SARE regions. So North Dakota down to Nebraska and like all the way over to I think like Indiana or Ohio, one of those no name states. One of those flyover states is considered part of the North Central region. The Western region is basically from Western South Dakota all the way over to California, Alaska, Hawaii. So they're kind of competing with a lot more states. But there are 2 different programs for you guys, both as producers and partners to be aware of. The first is the Farmer Rancher Grant Program. So those grants can go up to 23 months. Oopsie. 23 months. They cap out at 15 grand, which isn't a ton of money, but it's still some money. But if 2 or more producers apply together, then the cap increases to 30K. In 23, they got 140 proposals. This is just within the North Central region, okay, for the Farmer Rancher Grant. They got 140. They funded 42 of them. So that's about a 30% funding rate. And just for reference, like the big USDA grants that like Jamie and I and our colleagues apply for have like a 5% funding rate. So 30% is like amazing. They released the call or the request for applications, the RFA, in mid-August, and it's the same time every single year. Mid-August, applications are due early December, and then you get notified about February, and funds are released in the spring. So think of the timeline then and getting stuff in for kind of like your next grazing season. So if you put in for fall of 24, you could potentially have funds if you get funded for your 25 grazing season. And then SARE also has partnership grants. They can last for 24 months and they go up to $50,000. The difference with the partnership grants is that like an ag professional, so like me, field specialist Logan, Jamie, any kind of like of your partner entities not your federal entities. But if you think of like Pheasants Forever, they apply, and you have to have 3 ranchers involved on those partnership grants. Again, early August, the call is released, and then late October is when the proposal is due, and similar time frame in terms of when money actually becomes available. The big contrast between the farmer rancher grants and partnership grants is not only the cap on the money, but partnership grants in 23, they got 44 proposals were sent in, and they funded 21 of them. So it's about like 50% get funded. So that's pretty good chances of getting some dollars involved. And they have, SARE has, I have seen some farmer rancher grants go in and get funded for virtual fencing. So it is something to kind of keep in mind. If you are seriously looking about adopting virtual fencing, you can kind of start to pull together different pockets of money from different partners and entities to make it work and kind of cash flow a little bit better on your end. And so with that, we are going to start kind of like our Q&A part. I moved up the alcohol for you guys. So the person that serves the alcohol, the bartender, should be here shortly. So please stick around. Anyway, so we have a little bit of time for a Q&A. If you are piecing out before or like kind of now, grab me and I'll give you just an evaluation and the reference sheet. But I just wanted to share about the SARE programs because not a lot of people know that they exist. And like I said, funding rates are actually pretty good. So I'm going to turn it over to Jamie.